Society, which includes the board of directors, our staff, our many volunteers and members. Welcome to Founders Day. This is an annual event that we hold every January, where we pay tribute to our founding fathers, which may be back to the 1700s or through today. In the past, we've recognized such industries as textile, furniture, lumber. We've actually recognized our founding forefathers for Martinsville and Henry County and the African American community. So it's a way for us to get together and acknowledge how we got here and how we stay here. If it's your first time at the historic Henry County Courthouse, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Please don't be a stranger. Would love to see you more. On the program, at this time, I'll ask you to stand if you're able. Joyce Staples, our secretary, will offer our invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Hunter Haskins, a member of our board of directors.
Let us be in an attitude of prayer. First, Almighty God, we stand here in awe of your mighty, mighty love for us. Lord, we want to thank you for the Martinsville and Henry County Historical Society. We thank you for its executive director and its board of directors who work tirelessly on our mission to bring alive the history of Martinsville and Henry County. Today, God, we thank you for the film industry. We thank you, God, for those individuals who had the vision to create jobs and opportunities for members of our community so that they could have a good life and to send their children to college. God, we thank you always for your love and for your mercy that you have for us and your grace that you impart to us every day. Right now, God, we ask that you bless this program, that it will be the way you want it to be. In Jesus Christ's name I pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Our first distinguished speaker with us today is actually representing the Hermes family of Julius Hermes, the founder of Martin Processing. And as I understand, she was unanimously selected by the family to represent them. She and I actually attended Martinsville High School just a few years back, and she has served on the board of directors of the Boys and Girls Club of the Blue Ridge, Carlisle School, and the Martinsville Henry County SPCA. And she currently serves on the Regional Advisory Board of the Community Foundation of Western Virginia. So as you can see, Julius Hermes actually had his obvious impact on the community, and that has trickled down from generation to generation. We were supposed to have 4 generations of the Hermes, but I understand that Levi must have had a better gig, a better offer. But we will certainly take 3 generations. So with that, Tracy Tate.
Thank you, Jonathan, and I'm not going to stand too close because I have a pretty big mouth, so it's going to probably be loud. But, so as you, my family members probably know, I am not used to public speaking at all. So forgive me. I'm going to ramble, and I'm going to probably speak out of turn and seem nervous, but that's okay, because I'm sure my grandfather was a much better public speaker than I am. And that's okay too, because I'm here to honor him today and to talk about his legacy. And one thing I need to mention is, you know, Jonathan said, he said Julius Hermes, but I never knew him as that. To me, he was Papa Jewel. So as I speak, I'm going to say Papa Joel, so that's what you'll hear. So, in my eyes, he wasn't just an entrepreneur and brilliant businessman, he was also a dedicated family man. He cared deeply for his wife, his 4 daughters, and his grandchildren. In 1956, as I'm sure you all read, he started Martin Processing in a small building in Collinsville, Virginia. Quickly outgrowing this facility, he and his friend Bernice Fripp collaborated to build a new facility in Philadelphia, Virginia. From 1956 on, he continued to research and develop processes that advanced the yarn and film industry. Over his lifetime, he was granted 17 patents for inventions. To name a few, an apparatus with a specific way to wind yarn, a process for the waterless dyeing, texturizing, and heat setting of textile and plastic materials, and the process for treating dyed and undyed polyester materials with an agent to overcome or inhibit the destructive effects of ultraviolet light, which we probably now is probably window film. Another important thing to mention is Papa Joel truly valued and appreciated all of his employees. He knew that there would never have been a success of Martin Processing and his 3 divisions had it not been for the employees behind him. It didn't matter if it was an engineer, it didn't matter if it was the floor sweeper, the production worker, the chemist. He knew they were very important to his business. And he truly believed that the greatest asset to his company was his employees. So, as you all may know, I was very young when Papa Joel, well, not even born when he established his first business, and I was very young when all of this transpired. So I had to do a lot of research over the last couple of weeks to try to get in my mind and remember what all happened, what I knew. And so in doing that research, all of a sudden, it just came to me the name Lumar. And I was like, oh my gosh, Lumar. So I Googled it. And when I Googled it, I came across numerous businesses across the United States who are in the window film business, installing it, maybe in your car or in your home or something like that. And it was so interesting to me that when I pulled up their website, the same quote was on every one of these websites. And I'm not going to quote the complete thing, but it basically, I imagine Eastman is their supplier of window film. And it said that Eastman was one of the largest film manufacturing sites in the world. And then it went on to say that the entrepreneurial initiative of Julius Hermes back in 1956 was the historical cornerstone of the Lumar brand. He was known as the father of dyed PET, the polyester now used in window films. It stated that he was the right person with the right product at the right time to move the industry forward in this thriving business today. And boy, that really meant something to me because, like I said, I was very young. I knew him as Papa Joel. So, as you may or may not know, obviously we're here to talk about film today, but there were other aspects to his businesses. At one point in the mid to late 70s, he realized that back in those days, you couldn't go to someone in the United States to manufacture your equipment quickly to build or to process your yarn or process your film or dye your film. So he had the smarts and the brains to open a machinery division. And then also, of course, you all know about the textile division, I'm sure. But I'm sure Papa Joel would never have imagined that he would have first outgrown that first facility in Collinsville, let alone be responsible for opening 3 successful businesses all of which still operate today. The Martin Processing, and this is the name that I knew, the Martin Processing Textile Division, which at one point he opened a division in Rocky Mount, Virginia, and it's still running as the name Rona. Then there was the Martin Processing Machinery Division, and it's still thriving to this day under the name Smart Machines. And that's one reason why I didn't know as much about the film industry, because I worked for the machinery division for, 15 or 20 years. So I knew more about that. And my husband actually worked there and still works there and has been there almost 40 years. And then, of course, what we're here to talk about today, the Martin Processing Film Division, which is now Eastman Performance Films. So, I can just briefly say there was so much there that he did, that he developed. He left a legacy, and it's still going, and that's a wonderful thing. But that's kind of all I have to say. I do want to thank the Martinsville-Henry County Historical Society for inviting the Hermes family to participate today. It's an honor to be here and share a little bit of history about my grandfather, but I do extremely look forward to what everybody else has to say. And I will say that back here on the back table, my Aunt Adrian brought a lot of pictures, a scrapbook, mementos. Interesting, we talked with Christoph. There's a picture here, something I never knew, is that there was a division in Germany.
That was a film,
Of-
to sell the film.
To sell the film in Germany, where he grew up. So that's something new that he learned today as well. And I think he said his wife is from the actual area or town where this happened.
So I'm actually from Belgium. The picture that we have, that I found in my office, is from Germany. And I'll tell a little bit of story about Germany, because we're actually setting up a film plant over there as we speak, which is all coincidence. But then apparently there was a division in Belgium, in a town that is located where my wife is from, and we actually lived in that town for a while. So it just shows how small the world is and how things come together. So it's pretty amazing.
Exactly. But so thank you, and I'll leave it to the next person.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. Appreciate it. Yeah, I learn a lot when I go to these things too, and I hope everybody does learn something when they come to these events. And always encourage people to come out for them, because there's a lot of things that we just don't know about industry and the roots of those industries. So I'm hoping that we all walk away with a different understanding of the things that this community has been grounded in, and the different aspects and things that affect people's lives every day that we may not consider. With that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next two speakers. And if I say anybody's names wrong here, please forgive me. So the first one I'm going to introduce is going to be Bruce Troutman. Okay, good. And so to give a little background on Bruce, Bruce received his bachelor's degree from Purdue University in 1977, and he's been with Eastman for 37 years and is currently responsible for product customization and support of films at Eastman's Martinsville site. And he's been a resident of Martinsville for 30 years, so he's very knowledgeable about films and the company history, but he's also familiar with the community. And then he will be followed, well, I guess, whichever is first. I'm saying this in reverse, but then the other speaker is Christoph Liefens, okay? And he is the Martinsville site manager, and he has over 18 years of expertise in chemical operations, and he oversees all facets of the performance film operations in Martinsville as a team of over 800 employees. That's a lot of employees. And serving as the manufacturing representative on the performance film business unit leadership team. He has a master's degree. He already said this, but he's from Belgium and holds a master's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Brussels and an MBA from Business School in Ghent, Belgium. He's certified as a Six Sigma Black Belt and Master Coach, and is dedicated to leadership and people development. And he's lived in various locations because of his assignments. He currently resides in Greensboro and with his family, and he's active in professional endeavors. He likes to run and swim and cycle and all the stuff that I'm too lazy to do. And furthermore, he serves as the chairman on the board for the Chamber of Commerce for Martinsville and Henry County. So I'd like to, would you mind welcoming them as they come up? Whichever one's first here.
I'm not gonna wear this hat, but I wanted to show it to everyone because it has the Lumar window film. Some people might have seen it when we had the Martinsville race last year. We sponsored Chase Elliott, but we have 2 races that we can choose to have the paint scheme of the car with the Lumar colors and logo all on it. Now, we don't always have a choice of which race we get. When we had the Martinsville race, we were fortunate that we actually had the opportunity to put the Lumar brand name on the car, and we actually also put on the back of the car, maybe people might have seen it, proudly produced in Martinsville. And so a lot of our employees, but also people picked up on it because Chase Elliott had like the first 200 laps of the race in first position. And so that gave us, of course, a lot of publicity. So thank you for introducing me. I'm really humbled to be here today, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. Actually, Mr. Hermes' picture is still in our plant, in the hallway of our plant, so that means that legacy continues on as we operate today, of course, under the name of Eastman. And I've always worked at Eastman my whole career. Eastman has brought me all over the place, but I think it's actually very heartwarming when we were talking earlier today that I'm from Belgium, and I had a picture that I actually found because of this Founders Day. I was going through some drawers that I had not touched before, found some pictures. It turns out that is a picture of Germany, a facility in Germany, which also led to a discussion that there used to be also collaboration and a facility in Belgium, which I think is like amazing to be able to learn that from this event today. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Eastman, and then I'm going to turn it over to Bruce, because I've been here 3 years, almost 3 years, so I cannot do any justice to talk about any of the history. I know quite a bit, but I think Bruce will do a much better job than I can to talk about the history with his 37 years of experience at the site here in Martinsville. So a little bit about Eastman. You can go to the next slide. Currently today, Eastman is a large chemical company, and we're a specialty chemical company, and as you mentioned it, Tracy, polyester and dyeing polyester and doing all the things that we do with the film for all the different applications is a specialty business. There's a lot of know-how, a lot of technology that goes in, technology that Mr. Hermes laid the foundation for, that we still use today, every day as we produce the film. Globally, we got about almost 15,000 people, and Eastman is split up in 4 business segments, and so we're part of one of those 4 business segments. Can you go to the next slide? Go to the next slide. That's going to say much more, a little bit more. So here you see the 4 business segments, and if you look at those, basically, if you think about Eastman, everything that you do on a daily basis, everything that you touch on a daily basis, probably has a product that is produced by Eastman. Whether you drive your car, whether you use your cell phone, and by the way, a lot of the things that also are used in the cell phone is what we produce here in Martinsville, so part of that as well. But you got 4 business segments: additives and functional products, and you can see a picture there of coating paint that is being produced, or additives that go into the coatings. You see advanced materials, you see there the plastic bottles and specialty plastics that we produce, but actually our films division is part of the advanced materials segment within Eastman. We got chemical intermediates, for example, anything that has to do with crop protection, that's why you see the corn plants up there, and then fibers, which is acetate tow that used to be used in cigarette filters, but we've been moving away from that, and it's now used in apparel, clothing, and like sports clothing and all that for their unique properties. Go to the next slide. So we heard it say today, but we are extremely proud, and I am very proud to be able to lead the plant in Martinsville, because we are the largest window film manufacturing plant in the world, and we're really proud of that. So a lot of the dealers that you saw that are using our Lumar or some of the other brands that we have today, a lot of that product is coming out of Martinsville, and that's pretty amazing. So a little bit statistics on, if you go to the next slide. We got the video first.
Actually, this is where I'm supposed to start.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Bruce, because as you can see, I'm very excited and passionate about the plant. So I'm going to turn it over to Bruce, but happy to catch up after the presentation. And like I said, I'm looking forward to learning a lot about the history of the plant here today as well. So Bruce, give me a
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out. We finally got a day that's on the right side of freezing. Can we go back one slide? Just out of curiosity. Very good. So, Eastman Performance Films. We heard all about Eastman, and now it's time to find out what is this Eastman Performance Films thing? What do they do? Where are they? All that good stuff. So, we have a video here I'd like to show you, very brief, if we can do that.
Yep. We're being very technical, so give me just a moment.
Andy, could you?
Yes.
Mike,
It's all right.
Can I what?
adjust his mic.
Oh, yeah, we will. Give me a second.
Hi, I'm Abby. Welcome to Martinsville, Virginia. Population 12,852. It is beautiful, charming, and happens to also be an innovative hub for manufacturing.
You may have heard of the Martinsville Speedway, the shortest and oldest track in NASCAR. But this is also the home of Eastman Performance Films. The maker of products under the Lumar brand employs almost 800 hardworking people and has been part of the Martinsville community for decades. This is where they make it happen. One of the world's largest integrated film manufacturing operations.
If you've ever wondered what goes into Lumar paint protection and window films, get ready to be amazed. Every month, we're going to share a new video that gives you an inside look at the process and the people that stand behind the brand. Stay tuned.
I hope that gives just a very brief insight into some of what we do.
As a business partner, well,
Okay, can we go past the video? We just saw it.
Now it's loaded.
Of course, now it's going to work. So, very much like in the first slide, you can see here that there are basically there are 4 business units within Performance Films. Again, two are window film, one is paint protection, one is electronic. So, yes, Ken? All right, better? Better?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, quite a bit better. So again, within transportation, we have window film in both transportation and building and construction. The transportation side of the business is much larger than the architectural side of the business is. Paint protection is on here because it is a up-and-coming driver in this business. And then, of course, we have electronic materials that are handled via what we call our FlexView side of the business. Next slide.
I'll have my clicker right here. Oh, yeah. Sorry,
That's you.
yeah.
A few statistics and facts. So basically, the Eastman Performance Martinsville area is the largest manufacturer of window films in the world. driven primarily by the Lumar and Suntec brand. It's the third largest site that Eastman owns as well. Recognized for safety and quality, variety of awards, 60 plus years worth of manufacturing in Henry County. Over, well, maybe not over, but around 800 employees, 6 facilities at 5 locations, covering over 1 million square feet under roof, and over 1 million packaged rolls produced per year. Pretty impressive numbers, all in all. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, so since we said 6 facilities in 5 locations, let's just walk through them. Fieldale, Plant 1 and 2, starting in 1961. Over here on the right, Axton, starting in 1990. Patriot Center, 1995. And then, of course, the Performance Films Packaging and Performance Films Warehouse from 2020. This was a move to coordinate all of the packaging in one location and all of the shipping in one location. Timeline of what I would consider to be some of the more important things. Typical problem with a timeline is we're looking at 70 years here. There's no way in the world you can possibly capture everything that has happened in 70 years in a single timeline. If you could, even if you could, the print would be so small you wouldn't be able to read it. So what we're going to do here is we'll just kind of stroll through this a little bit, and then we'll look at another perhaps 4 slides or so we'll look a little closer. So all the way back in 1956, Martin Processing, founded to dye polyester fibers, 30,000 square foot plant built in 61. Same time as the patent issued for deep dyed polyester film in 1960. 1987 is the next important one that I see anyway, because that is the acquisition of Martin Processing by Courtauld, which is an English company. That changed the complexion considerably, because it went from being a privately owned, or at least a locally owned business, to an international business. Interestingly enough, that's the acquisition of Martin Processing. Right along with that was the acquisition of Andis, which was a specialty sputtering company in Canoga Park, which of course eventually became our Canoga Park plant. And then Gila River Products, which was a coater laminator in Chandler, Arizona, which actually was closed in 1992. And again, Canoga Park, as you can see, was just recently closed. 1995 is the next interesting one. Commonwealth Laminating and Coating, founded at Patriot Center. And 2010, we get acquisition of Nova Matrix Products. This is the V-Cool Hooper Optic brand. Also includes Southwall Technologies. And then we have some other acquisitions here that we'll get to on another slide. So next. All right. So one of the ones that we talked about being vitally important was the 1960 patent for dyeing polyester film. So here we have just a look at it. Interesting. What I do find interesting, I don't know how old any of you are, somehow the name Dacron sticks in my head for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, like I said, this is the 1960 patent, which basically is the basis for everything we had done at the Martinsville site in its existence. Next. Founders Day. This is, we actually stole this from you folks here at the Historical Society. So we could actually have an artist rendition of what the new plant that was built in Fieldale was going to look like. The one that I hit on earlier, the acquisition of local ownership to International Corporation, Courtaulds, in 1987. There's a lot of stuff in here, but basically, if you look at the second little red area down here, Martin Processing was once a major player in the textile and carpet yarn dyeing business. The carpet business, however, was hard hit during the late 70s, so Hermes, a chemist, engineer, and entrepreneur, redirected the company's energies into plastic film products, which is, again, as I said, the basis for just about everything we do. And here is just a brief look at Commonwealth coating and laminating. And as I mentioned, as we started getting towards the right side of that timetable, you started seeing more and more acquisitions happening. And so this is since 1999. Courtaulds purchased these companies in 1987. They were, at that time, they were a 200-plus-year-old English company that in the late 90s actually decided to just dissolve. So the CPF was so Courtaulds actually wound up, Solutia purchased what was Courtaulds. So for a while you saw the name CP Films, because we couldn't call ourselves Courtaulds anymore and we weren't Solutia yet. So CP Films stuck around for a while. 2010 acquisition of Nova Matrix products, as I said before, V-Cool, Hooper Optic, South Wall. Eastman acquisition of Solutia from Performance Films, and then Eastman acquisition of Commonwealth Coating and Laminating. And you'll notice these are taking place pretty regularly, about every couple of years. Project Blue Sky was what I referred to a minute ago as far as consolidating packaging and shipping. And present, they're just planning for future growth and expansion. Further expansions. So, next. How a window film is made. Okay. Go ahead to the next one. We'll look at it. All right. So you can see a gentleman up there installing a piece of window film on the driver's window in a car. You'll notice the film is soaking wet. And what he has done here is he has already removed this piece of silicone release liner to expose the pressure-sensitive adhesive underneath it. And this is a typical high-performance window film. It's based on what's right in the middle of the structure there, which is a dyed component. It's laminated to a PET with an evaporated metal on it, hard coat, scratch-resistant coating, and PS coating on the backside. So how does it all go together? Well, we start at the left side over here, we have polyester film going to the dye house. We have polyester film going to vacuum coating. We then have a aluminized metal film coming out of vacuum going to coating and laminating, and a dye component coming out of the dye house going to coating and laminating. First step one, which is typically is sticking the two of those together. And then for the second step, which is putting the adhesives and scratch-resistant coatings on, and then slitting and packaging. So these are nice. It's nice to look at diagrams like this, but they don't really mean much. Doesn't make you feel like you were actually there. So let's try to do that.
Do you know how window tint is made?
No. No, I did not actually.
No.
I don't know how it's made.
No idea how it's made. You want an inside look at what makes Lumar Films so special? Well, let's start by talking to the employees.
Is that right?
What makes people want to be here and be a part of our organization is really the sense of.
So originally, all the videos were embedded in the presentation, but we couldn't make them work, so we had to go back to YouTube to find the original videos to make it work.
Is that the one supposed to?
How Windows Film was made, yeah.
Things you should never mix with water. Mascara. Home electronics.
Do you know how window tint is made?
No. Sorry.
That's the one.
Do you know how window tint is made?
No, I did not actually.
No.
I don't know how it's made.
No idea how it's made. If you don't know how Lumar window films are made, you're not alone. Today, my new friend Bruce here is going to take us inside to get a closer look at the process.
That's right, let's go take a look. For a standard window film product, we would typically have the dyed layer. It has a metallized layer. It's all laminated together with adhesives. It has scratch-resistant coatings and it has pressure-sensitive adhesives on it. The process actually starts with dyeing, where we take a polyester film and we infuse dyes into the film itself. We also use raw films and we evaporate aluminum metal onto them in order to get better performance and higher reflectivity.
That's where that heat rejection comes in.
That's exactly right. From there, we take those two over to laminating and we stick them together and then we put additional coatings on either side, whether they be scratch resistant or pressure sensitive adhesives or whatever. It actually is different adhesives whether it's an automotive or an architectural product. And this all happens here at the finishing machine.
This is intense. I had no idea all these steps went into this film. So that is how it's done. Stay tuned. We'll be back with another inside look at Lumar.
Well, hopefully that makes a little more sense to people now. I don't know. So we got 2 slides to go here. Okay, paint protection film, as mentioned, is in here not necessarily because it has anything to do with dyed film, but rather simply because it is a up and coming part of our business that we need to at least keep in the light here. And again, another diagram of how paint protection film is made. Next. So this is going to be the last part.
Is that the? That's wrong.
That's wrong. Oh, that's wrong.
Can you tell me on this list which one it is?
Very last one.
This one?
Are we in school?
Did you know Lumar paint protection and window films ships all over the globe? Well, this is where it all begins. Let's take a look inside the warehouse.
Pretty impressive, isn't it?
So Kurt, how big is this place?
300,000 square feet, and we offer the largest variety of window film on the market.
Wow, so everything that Lumar ships comes out of here. This is the central hub.
Yes, ma'am. We get everything where it needs to go. Finished rolls come in, we fill the order, and send film out to every continent except Antarctica.
So how much do people order?
Some of our bigger customers will order 1,900 rolls at one time, or we can ship 1 or 2 rolls to local shops.
1,900 rolls at once.
1,900 rolls.
What do you do when you get an order like that?
Plan carefully.
So, Curry, how big is a master roll film?
A master roll like these is 20,000 linear feet long.
Ooh, that's pretty big. How big is a typical roll?
A typical roll like this is 100 feet long.
How many rolls go out in a day?
Up to 10,000 rolls in one day.
You ship 10,000 rolls in one day.
In one day, between.
That is efficient.
That's just how we roll.
Obviously, the shipping process here is very well buttoned up. Till next time, this has been your Inside Look at Lumar.
And that is actually also the end of this presentation, although I do want to make one extra slide at some point in time that just has Curry's quote on it. All it's going to say is, that's how we roll. Questions? Yes?
Where did the name Martin Processing come from?
You are well before my time.
I think I can answer that.
Okay, good.
My father did not want to call it Hermes, so he took it to Martinsville. So he says Martin Processing.
Very good.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
In 1956, the first film dyeing machine was in the location in Collinsville. Do you still have that machine?
I would tend to doubt it.
Because somebody told me y'all still had it stored or something, and I.
If we do, I don't know where.
So I mean, obviously, I only hear it from what people are saying, but what we call our dial line number 1, from what I'm told, is still the original dial line.
That's what I.
And I'm looking at Daniel. He used to be our engineering manager, so he also has a lot of history. So chime in if you want.
The funny thing about it, that I owed my father a lot of money because my dad cleaned the rollers and had the dye bath in there, and he fell in the machine and burned his legs. So he was in the hospital for quite some time. Because he's a man, he always taught us, don't ask anybody to do something that you would not do. So I was very young, so I played gin rummy with him all the time, and I lost all the time. So that's kind of a fun story for how the film got started. And also one thing you might be interested in, talking about the date, if you go to Roanoke, there is a building on the left side. It's a greenhouse. It is, was a, probably Darrell Smith can help me out on this, but he was in Egypt, and the government there wanted to know how film would work in Egypt because they don't have a lot of water. They took the film and built that greenhouse with the film. Unfortunately, I don't know how it held up. It was to be research on could we use this out in weather in areas where there's a lot of sun and not a lot of water, because they needed that greenhouse to help provide food for, Egypt. So I thought you might enjoy that.
That is interesting. Thank you.
And I know exactly which greenhouse you're talking
You
about.
know the one, don't you?
Yeah. That's interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
All right.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Holly Gazelski. I am the Executive Director of the Martinsville Henry County Historical Society. Before this, I was editor of the Martinsville Bulletin. Last year, I happened to be sitting across the table at a local restaurant from Frankie's husband. A lot of you know him as Darrell Smith, the Executive Director of the International Window Film Association, but I know him as Frankie's husband. And he really talked up the benefits of window film and got me so excited about it that I ordered window film for my house that very week. I live in a a house built in 1885. And I was real strict that I want to keep my original windows, and they're terrible in terms of heat And also, you just picture the thieves walking right in as easily as you please. I love the window film, and I loved it so much that I wrote not one but two of my Sunday columns about window film. I don't know if any of y'all had seen that. But we have a lot of big names in window film here today, and we have in spirit Ken Vickers. And again, Ken, I knew him personally before I understood his role in window film. His grandparents, his granddaughter, Ken and Ann's granddaughter, was very good friends with my daughter. They're the same age. So I knew Ken and Ann as we did things together as a family, and then later came to know Ken as his role in window film, including president of Martin Processing from 1993 to 2006. But he was a wonderful man personally, and also extremely well respected by those in the industry, and as I certainly hear his employees. So these flowers are in Ken's memory. And I thank you all for coming to this program. We have a lot more coming up with the Historical Society. The Sounds on the Square popular concert program has been, this is your first public announcement of what's coming with Sounds on the Square. That is held on the first Friday of every warm month in the year. It's an opportunity for the general public to come and see what we have, and that includes walk through the museum and look at it. And presently, we're a local museum. By this time next year, we will be launched onto the national stage with a museum. You see the 13,000 square foot building right out behind here, national level antiques with antique tools, firearms covering 500 years, Native American artifacts, steam engines, Markland toy trains, and more, so be looking out for that. While we're getting that ready, we have a couple of temporary exhibits coming. We are working on one on sewing, and that came about because Tracy Hayworth donated 5 sewing machines, and they are really neat. They were her grandmother's. And they span time, and you can look at these sewing machines and you see the passage of the years with a treadle table set machine that you operate with foot pedals, and that moves up to a 1913 machine that's electric, but it's very old-fashioned looking. And then there's a real Art Deco looking 1927 machine. And then a couple more modern ones, and we put the word out that we're accepting donations temporary if we can show them for 6 months. But we have people donating wooden spools of thread, sewing implements, homemade clothes, all types of really neat things, and people are talking about it because it reminds everybody what Grandma did and what Mom did back in the old days. We also have a temporary exhibit coming up on local media. Of course, that's a no-brainer. I have a few souvenirs. Bill Wyatt is participating. He has a 45-year history in TV and radio. Charles Rourke from Star News, Chad Hall from BTW 21, and also Debbie Hall from the Henry County Enterprise and the Stewart Enterprise. We're all getting together on all kinds of goodies of local media. And finally, we're going to change out the dress exhibit. So be sure to check out the Virginia Wendell collection of Victorian clothing around the corner in that back room. We're going to swap that out for evening gowns and prom dresses. If you have really neat prom dresses through the years, let us borrow them for 6 months. Everyone wants to see them. Thank you all for coming. We have membership forms. It will be a lot more fun to be a member before the annex opens because you'll be in on the ground floor.
And have one thing, there's some displays